The hustle and bustle of the summer holiday season coming to a close. Now's the time to start looking ahead to the next trip, right? We got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas travel, we've got spring break even. Today we're joined by travel advisor Jenny Maurer. She's talking everything you need to know about travel to end out this year. So what we want you to do is we want you to text us your questions. The number is 336-379-5775. You can get your question answered in real time. Jenny, you have just gotten back from where?
I actually started a cruise in Iceland. We went to Ireland, we went to France, England, and ended in Amsterdam.
That sounds fantastic. All right, so for those of you who are like, yes, I want to take a cruise, whether it's to the Bahamas or you want to go as far as Jenny did, let's start with that. What are the vaccination and testing requirements now with cruises?
So they are still changing very rapidly, but right this minute, most cruise lines have removed vaccination requirements. It does depend on, one, how long your cruise is, the number of days, where you're leaving from, and also where you're going. Right now, if we're leaving out of the U.S., most of them are removed, except if you're going to go into Canada or into the Bahamas. I'm sorry, Canada or Bermuda.
Okay, and so these things change often. So it's kind of one of those things of, I know a lot of people who said, I didn't even know when after I booked my cruise, it was in real small writing somewhere that I had to do X, Y, and Z at a certain amount of time. How do you find out all the things that you're supposed to do?
So, well, of course, I'm going to say consult a travel advisor because they're going to be able to walk you right through it. But most of the cruise lines, right at the top of their websites, it will tell you. So just be cautious if you are booking it with the cruise line directly. Ask them to clarify it, because the last thing you want to do is many cruises have non-refundable deposits, and you don't want to get in that situation where you have a non-refundable deposit and you're not vaccinated or you don't have all the requirements.
Okay. And then the other thing I wanted to ask about was a lot of people, you know, they are trying to get their flights to their cruise. And I know you have some specific thoughts on when you should be flying in.
So I always say, fly in the day before. Even if it's the night before, there are so many things that can happen with flights. And this is even in the perfect time. But right now, it is just crazy. Always make sure that you fly in the day before.
Okay. All right, let's get to travel insurance, because so often people do want to have travel insurance. I know I had travel insurance for the last time that I went to Quebec City. What should folks expect to pay for travel insurance?
So it is actually a good policy is based on your age and the state that you live in. So I would say an average trip, and it's based, of course, on the amount of your trip. Let's say a $5,000 trip, average age of maybe 45 to 50, and living in North Carolina, you're probably going to pay about $150 for each person.
All right, and we're looking at a graphic right now that says, look at the amount of coverage, because you could get thousands more in coverage for a few dollars difference. Explain a little bit of that to me.
So you have to be careful in looking at insurance policies, because so many times, especially with the airlines or a tour operator or even the cruise lines, they may only offer what's called pre-departure protection, which means once you leave, you're not covered. So you want to make sure that is the case. So that would, of course, have a lower rate. But the rates are going to, of course, vary on, like I said, many things as far as your age, what the cost of the trip, and you want to make sure that it covers you for your medical also while you're traveling, because most of the time your U.S. health insurance is not covering you once you're outside of the U.S.
Okay. And that is something, now, is that something that you should call your insurance and say, hey, what do you cover? Because sometimes they just say, yes, you're covered. But then there's like those little pieces of fine print of, you're covered if you, and then it doesn't cover you where you think it should.
Yes, you're exactly right. Again, I would look at your policy. I would call them. Most insurance companies don't even carry travel insurance. Now, I know there are some that will, but your health insurance, and it's usually very limited and, like you said, very, I guess they really want to, it only happens if this, but a good policy is going to cover you. Let's say you booked a trip today and you're not going to December. Well, we don't have any idea what's going to happen medically with you, even your traveling companions, or even people that are in your family. Maybe you needed to stay home and take care of a child. and that's not, they're not traveling with you, but a good travel insurance policy will cover that also.
Okay, and definitely something that I learned was, you may have $20,000 worth of coverage and it's only like 25 bucks, right? The next one, you can get like $150,000 in coverage for like 50 bucks. So it's like 30 bucks more, but you get much more coverage.
Yes, exactly. And, I'm sure everyone knows what medical costs are these days. So you really want to be conscientious of that.
Okay. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. What we want you to do is we want you to text us your travel-related questions, 336-379-5775. We'll be right back.